How dare you serve me this notice? I demand that you revoke this immediately, or I will have you arrested for trespassing.
The first thing I heard was her heels slapping wet concrete at 9 p.m., then her voice cutting through the cold air like a car alarm. My headlights were still on, my coffee was still steaming in the cup holder, and the courthouse spotlights were flashing off my windshield like I'd done something criminal. She marched right up to my driver's window and slapped a bright orange notice on the glass. Pay or leave. Her perfume mixed with the smell of asphalt and rain, and I could see spit jump in the beam of my dome light as she leaned in. She didn't ask who I was. She didn't care why I was there. She just pointed at my tires like they offended her. She said this driveway is HOA controlled, and you're trespassing. You owe $200 right now or you can back out and never come back. I looked past her and saw the courthouse steps, empty and shiny, and the base legal clerk waiting inside the side door with a folder in his arms. I was in uniform. My name tape was right there. And this lady still acted like she owned the whole city. I need to say it plain, because it still sounds fake when I repeat it. Karen stormed my courthouse steps driveway shouting pay or leave, had no idea I am the base commander. That's the whole fight in one sentence. I was there because our base had a scheduled meeting with the county about a veteran housing project, May 3, 2024, and the courthouse is where they host it. The city gave us that side driveway for official vehicles after hours, signed and posted. But Karen, who ran the tiny HOA for the historic homes across the street, decided that sign didn't apply to me. She waved her phone like a badge and said she had friends in the police, and she could have me towed in 10 minutes. She pointed at my plates and said, "I already reported you." The way she smiled made my skin crawl. Like she'd been waiting all day to catch someone. I tried to be calm. I really did. I told her my name, my rank, and why I was parked there. I even stepped out slowly so I wouldn't look like I was trying to scare her. She didn't move back. She stepped closer, like she wanted the camera angle. A couple of neighbors across the street cracked their blinds open, then shut them fast when she turned her head. I asked her to show me any rule that said an HOA controlled a public courthouse driveway. She said I don't have to show you anything. Pay the fine or leave. I walked her over to the posted permit sign, and she actually laughed at it. Then she said, "I can make one call and you'll be in cuffs." Right then, a deputy car rolled past slow, and Karen waved like she owned the deputy too. The deputy didn't stop. The deputy didn't even look. That's when I realized this wasn't a mistake. This was her hobby. The next morning, April 6th, I went the polite route. I called the HOA number on her notice. Voicemail. I emailed their board address. No reply. I went to the city clerk and asked who had authority over that driveway. The clerk sighed like she'd heard my story before and slid me a printed map with a stamp on it. City property. Not HOA. She also whispered, "Be careful. She files reports on everyone." That was my line in the sand. I'm a commander, not a cowboy. I promised myself I would use proper channels only, because I've seen what happens when people get emotional and do something dumb. So I went home, shut my door, and started collecting facts like it was my second job. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I printed the permit email from the county. I saved the security footage request form. And I wrote down every time she tried to flex on me, even the small stuff, like her note saying she could tow a federal vehicle. 2 days later, I pulled public records on her friends and the police claim and the HOA's complaint history. The file landed with 63 pages, and the first page already had my jaw tight. There were reports, calls, and anonymous tips tied to her address and her HOA email, going back months. A lot of them were about the courthouse driveway, and a lot of them ended up marked unfounded. That's when I built my simple proof wall. Timeline item 1 April 5th at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. Timeline item 2 May 3rd at 9 p.m. harassment at Courthouse steps driveway. Timeline item 3 May 4th at 8:16 a.m. email to city demanding tow authority. It was the same pattern over and over. I didn't need drama. I needed daylight. And the law is actually clear on one key point: patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. I wasn't trying to get revenge with fists. I wanted the system to do its job. Here's the twist she never saw coming. I didn't confront her alone. I set a lawful, public stage. The county already had an open council meeting on May 17, 2024, about parking and public access near the courthouse. I asked to be on the agenda, like any citizen can. I showed up early, in plain clothes, carrying my binder like a brick. Karen showed up too, loud as ever, and she sat in the front row like she was the judge. When my turn came, I stayed calm and spoke slow. I explained the permit, the driveway map, and the harassment. Then I handed copies to the council, the city attorney, and the deputy chief. I didn't have to insult her. The receipts did it for me. I played a short clip from the courthouse camera that showed her slapping the orange notice on my car and yelling "pay or leave" while blocking my door. Someone in the back snorted a laugh. Then another person started recording. Karen's face went red, then white, like she'd forgotten the world had cameras too. The room flipped on her in real time. People whispered her name like they finally felt safe saying it out loud. One neighbor stood up and said she did the same thing to my mom, and it made her cry. Another guy said Karen filed 3 complaints about his flag in 1 week. The deputy chief cleared his throat and said they were opening a review of her repeated calls, because a report system isn't a toy. The city attorney said the driveway was public and the HOA had zero authority there, and any fines Karen issued were meaningless. Karen tried to interrupt, but the mayor told her to sit down. For the first time, her voice didn't control the room. Outside the building, a teen posted the clip online, and by the next day the comments were brutal. People joked that she was the queen of asphalt. But the part that hit me most was quieter. 2 neighbors came up to me and said thank you for doing it the right way. They looked tired, like they'd been holding their breath for years. After that, peace came back in small pieces. The HOA sent a formal email to everyone saying they had no control over the courthouse driveway, and they regretted confusion. Karen got removed from her HOA role after a vote, and the city issued her a warning about harassment and misuse of city services. A deputy told me, off the record, they were tired of her calls clogging the line. The courthouse staff started keeping the driveway camera pointed a little wider, just in case. On my next evening meeting, the air smelled like fresh-cut grass instead of stress. I parked, walked up the steps, and no one chased me. A kid on a bike waved at me and said, "Hey, you're the commander guy." I waved back and smiled, because it finally felt normal again. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.